in the heart of Beer City, USA. Two men, one journey, to create a sports show unlike any other. Unfiltered, raw, and honest. One of them played a soccer goalie opposite Ben Stiller. The other once scored 6 points on Steph Curry. These guys know their shit.
Let's go!
Tank Spencer, Jeremy Greene, the Sportsocracy. Presented by Ingles Supermarkets. Low prices, love the savings. And Fred Anderson Nissan of Asheville.
Most improved teams in the NFL. Jeremy, I'm going to let you start on this one. If you have to crown a winner, who's the winner?
I said this yesterday. I think it's the Philadelphia Eagles.
Okay.
They're the only team in the NFL that I feel like addressed every problem that was addressable.
Okay.
And I'm going to pair this back to something I said in the last hour. When Baltimore took Lamar Jackson, everything they did stemmed in that tide.
Yes.
I feel like that's what Philadelphia did. They know Jalen Hurts is not he's never going to be an MVP caliber quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
How do you mitigate that? You play to what he does well, so you beef up the offensive line. You look at, and this is a myopic way of looking at this, but one of the lesser talked about additions. You drafted Landon Dickerson last year. You drafted Cam Jurgens this year. You know what those two players do really well? Get out in front. They're really good at running downhill in front of runners.
Mm-hmm.
What's Jalen Hurts?
You're a running quarterback.
He's a runner.
Yeah.
Not great deep ball thrower. So what do you add with that? An elite receiver after the catch. Defensively, you know you're not going to be putting up prolific offensive numbers. So what do? You build the defense, bring back your vet guys, throw in a run stuffer that keeps teams from just bleeding you out up the middle, which some did last year, Dallas Cowboys, and add some pass rushers. Add a corner so that the second side of the latter side of your defense, the weak side of your defense, is not just a sieve against teams that have more than two high-quality receivers. So to me, the unquestioned, no doubt winner of the offseason, Philadelphia Eagles.
Philadelphia Eagles, they were close for me. They were close for me, but they were not my number one. And here's why. Because I believe when you're talking most improved, you go, who can take the biggest jump this year? Philadelphia Eagles were a playoff team last year. Do you feel much better about their chances to win a Super Bowl this year than you did last year?
Do I feel drastically better? Yes. Do
you think it's likely? Do you think there's even a...
They're not in my top 6 of Super Bowl contenders.
Yeah, I was going to say, is there even a small window where you think that the Philadelphia Eagles could end up winning the Super Bowl?
It would take a lot.
It would take a lot.
You would need many alien abductions, retirements, right. Somebody to retire to become the third on this show.
Right.
Like there would have to be a lot of things.
That's why they're my number 2. My number 1 most improved team in this season is one that didn't make the playoffs last year. But now there's that small window that you think, well, there's a chance. There's a chance that a couple of their players takes another leap this year and they actually wind up in a Super Bowl and maybe even winning it. And it's the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers with adding Khalil Mack and J.C. Jackson on the defensive side of the ball. I talked about this in our off-season videos on the YouTube stream of Sebastian Joseph Day and Austin Johnson clogging up the middle because they couldn't stop the run last year. And then they had an unbelievable draft. You got Zion Johnson added into that offensive line. They got Jamari Salyer in the draft as well, who's going to be a good depth piece for them. The right tackle spot is the only one that you go, yeah, I would like for an upgrade there. But with Corey Filer and Rashawn Slater, who was the first-year All-Pro at left tackle last year, they took care of their problems. And then they got Isaiah Spiller. Who did we need? We needed somebody to get those yards when Austin Eckler's not out there. So guess what? You could even play him in tandem. Now you can move Austin Eckler out to the slot. You re-sign Mike Williams. I think L.A. has to be the number 1 on the most improved list because they actually have a chance to go all the way.
And a player that you didn't mention was Bryce Callahan, who you chuck into the slot. And there's really not many holes on that Chargers roster now. They were up there for me. I couldn't put them ahead of the Eagles solely because they had so many pieces already in place. And I feel like Khalil Mack at this point is a little bit more name than he is substance.
Okay.
Now, where that kind of having a Bosa brother on the other side of you probably brings something out in him that you haven't seen when he was the only guy. Don't throw me Robert Quinn. I'll eviscerate that argument. I love Robert too, but okay.
Yeah.
He doesn't really belong in the conversation with the other names I've already said.
True.
There's another team in that division, though, that it's so hard. It's so hard for me to not have them. I want to put them one, and I considered putting them one.
The Raiders.
It's the Raiders.
Yeah.
And now you got to understand,
the Raiders,
there are two different kinds of most improved team, and I love that we didn't talk about this before the show. We tend to do these things. We want the reaction to be organic, so we do our own prep, and then we come here to fraternize with you, and you get to hear our reactions to the things each other says.
Right.
I love that you said this the way that you did, because to me there's two different kinds of improved teams. There are teams that improved, and this is a building block to you being a contender 2 to 4 years from now.
Yeah.
I can't put those in this category. To me, there were 3. The one you said with the Chargers, the Eagles, who were my one, and then the Las Vegas Raiders. Because now I do look at the Raiders and go, is there a scenario where they win a Super Bowl? Yes, there is. I know you're going to disagree with me on that, but there is a path.
There is a path. I will agree with you. I think it's a smaller window than the one with the Los Angeles Chargers, but
and it is, but you started. And look,
still
I understand.
More improved by that measure than the Philadelphia Eagles in my mind.
Well, and I understand that the Raiders made the playoffs and the Chargers didn't. I still think the Chargers roster last year was better than the Raiders. Mm-hmm. The Raiders were a sheer force of will team that, with a special teams coach, made the playoffs. And now I like Josh McDaniels, and I include him in this. I think having that solidifying the offense and it not being John Gruden. Gruden did a lot of great things in this league. Mm-hmm. Did a lot of bad things on the way out of this league. But the offense was still a little antiquated to me. Josh McDaniels is not going to run an antiquated offense in the NFL. And I look on the defensive side of the ball with Patrick Graham. He's not going to run an antiquated style of defense in this league.
Right.
And then you look at all of the things that were built. And when I watch a coordinator, and I know I've just heaped praise on Patrick Graham, but it's because I don't see coaches do this very often. He took the nucleus of this team and went, I'm going to mold my style to what they have. Because the biggest drawback of the Raiders was, and will be, there are scary parts of that defense. Things that bother me. I don't know how great I feel about the corners. I don't know what you're going to have deep with the safeties. How do you mitigate that? You have Max Crosby and Chandler Jones harassing quarterbacks.
Right.
That cures a lot of ills. And so for me, those 3 clearly pass anybody else that's in that contender range.
Really? That kind of blows my mind, because there's one team that I'm thinking about going, if we're using this term.
Oh, I have a feeling it's one of 2 teams, and they play in the AFC, and there's going to be one problem with both of them.
If you're using this term of who improved their window, who improved their chances to make a run at the Super Bowl title, there's not just one. There's a couple of them.
Are they both in the AFC?
They are both in the AFC.
Is one of them the Denver Broncos?
No. One of them is not the Denver Broncos.
Okay.
I think there are a couple other teams. See, you said there are 3. There are 3 at the top. Obviously, you believe that there are more improved teams than that.
Oh, absolutely. And I believe Denver's an improved team.
But you're saying most improved.
I'm saying most improved that has made you a Super Bowl contender.
Okay. When I did this list, I tried to think of all the teams that were vastly improved, in my opinion, over last year. I came up with a list of 7. Now, I felt like the Chargers and the Eagles were way at the top.
I have the Raiders in that, but I feel like they're way at the top, too.
The Raiders are on my list, but to me, they're not the 3. To me, they're not the 3rd most improved team after this offseason. And I will tell you, coming up after the break, who I think the 3rd best team is, and we'll talk about the others who have improved in this 2022 NFL offseason. You're in the Sportsocracy here on ESPN Asheville.
The Sportsocracy.
Why are you smiling? Because I love football.
And welcome back into the Ingles Studio here on ESPN Asheville. It is the Sportsocracy. Check us out at sportsocracy.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you can join us in the chat as we debate the most improved teams in the NFL in this offseason. Now, before the break, I said I agree with you on the Raiders. The Raiders are up there. They're like fourth on my list of most improved teams this year. I think there's a window that they can win a title. My third, though, and you may rankle at this, but it's the Baltimore Ravens.
I don't rankle at that at all. But here's the thing. I don't necessarily – look, they're very improved.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily think they're more likely to win a Super Bowl, but I already thought they were likely to win a Super Bowl.
Okay.
They were killed by injuries last
Absolutely.
year. Their greatest ability this year will be their availability.
Absolutely. And the fact that they're getting healthier, they're getting all of those pieces that they were missing last year back. I'm a huge believer in J.K. Dobbins. I think he's –
That's well, you should be.
I think he is like next wave running back superstar in this league. He's going to get all the tote in Baltimore that he can handle, and I think he's going to do fabulously at it. Now, J.K. Dobbins comes back, the other injuries get cleaned up, and you got Marcus Williams in free agency.
I love the Marcus Williams move.
Your defense became super scary.
And you add that with Kyle Hamilton, who was clearly my number one player in this draft.
Mm-hmm.
People freaked out over his 40 time. Stop that.
Mm-hmm. You got Tyler Linderbaum in the draft, so that makes the offensive line even better than it was.
Yeah, I want you to think about this. Baltimore wound up with 2 of my top 8 prospects in this NFL draft. It cost them Marquise Hollywood Brown. That's it. End of message.
Win.
In.
Consider that a win.
The rich get richer and the dumb get dumber.
To me, it's the Baltimore Ravens. Because I believed that they were a contender before all of the injuries.
That's why I didn't have them on my list. Because I think they're very good, and to me, they're the scariest team outside of Cincinnati, really, to Buffalo in the AFC.
Mm-hmm.
And the Chargers. Man, good Lord, that conference is good.
Yeah, it is.
I have a feeling after I thought about this in the break, I have a feeling who your next team's going to be,
mm-hmm.
and it's the same premise. Yes, they are improved, but they were in the Super Bowl last year, so I can't really say that they're more likely to win a Super Bowl.
And as always, you are so astute when it comes to figuring out where I'm going to go. It's the Cincinnati Bengals. The Cincinnati Bengals took care of their offensive line problems. You brought in Ted Karras, you brought in Alex Kappa from my Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I feel like you've done it. I feel like you did all of the things. That Lael Collins coming in, if he can, obviously the off the field issues and suspensions and things like that. Hopefully you don't have to deal with any of that while he's in Cincinnati. Although the history of Cincinnati Bengals players would probably tell you that they're going to have to deal with a little bit of that from somebody. And why not it be Lael Collins? But if everything goes swimmingly, you fixed your offensive line. I have no qualms anymore.
No, and I agree with that. And maybe I took the assignment here in a little different path of these are the teams that I feel the most. I hate to use this term because it's not real words. The teams I feel more better about. I do that sometimes. It's intentional. It's not that I can't speak. That I feel better about going into this season.
Yes.
And for me, that's the Raiders, the Eagles, and the Chargers.
Mm-hmm.
Now, those 2 teams, vastly improved. There were 2 more that you could have said, also vastly improved. Problem is, I don't think they're Super Bowl contenders.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Miami Dolphins and the Denver Broncos.
Yep. There's one team that I'm shocked you did not say.
Now,
and there's a team that made my list that I thought for sure was going to be on your list.
Now, this is where the separation comes. There are 2 teams that I think did a great job. They're vastly improved. But you're not really going to see the fruits of this labor for 2 to 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Dick Vitale in our YouTube comments said, I believe the Jets are going to make a huge jump this year. My bold take is the Jets will make the playoffs this year because their O-line and D-line are better. I can't get that far. They are vastly improved.
Mm-hmm.
The talent on that team, exponentially better. But I don't think you're there yet. You're not challenging for division titles. You're not challenging for conference titles. They're exponentially better. This is probably the most excited I've been going into a season to be a Jets fan in over 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
They're drastically better.
Yep.
But they're also really young. And when I say really young, I mean, I want you to go to that roster. Do you realize how many players are going to serve really any kind of role that are over 29 years old?
How many?
It's 1.
That's it.
It's one. So the youth of them scares me. And the other one that I really like is the Detroit Lions. The Lions now have an offense that should keep you awake at night.
Mm-hmm.
The problem there is you're not going to have Jameson Williams back until probably around Thanksgiving. And I feel like this is a feeling it out year. You're trying to figure out how many pieces of the defense are long range, actual solutions. How many things are we going to have to address? Is Jeff Okudah actually going to be a part of this team when we get to the competitive point? I think they're going to be tough to play. I think they're going to keep defensive coordinators awake at night because the weapons on that team are insane.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not threatening for the division. And I think when you see the improvement will be next year.
Yep.
These guys are in their sophomore season, and now, that offense is horrifying.
I wanted to have the Denver Broncos higher. I wanted to have them higher.
I just can't. I can't because you got a first-time head coach. You did nothing to a defense that was not very good. And look,
I'm still say nothing. Randy Gregory is going to be. That's going to be a great pass rushing tandem.
He will be the most overpaid player in the NFL 1 year from now.
Randy
I
Gregory.
don't love Randy Gregory, and I never have. And now you're standing him up. That makes me even more nervous.
Yeah, him and Bradley Chubb. I think that's going to be a tandem that works. It's going to scare people. The problem is your division got better, and I don't see there being a Super Bowl window.
There it is.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not saying this team's not good. If they were in the NFC East, they'd win that division by 3 full games.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not. And I have to look at that too and just go, every team in your division got better except the Chiefs. I don't think you got better to a point where you have now caught, and especially not past them. So, yes, Denver is markedly improved. What I have said about Denver is I feel like Russell Wilson, all he did was move a little bit south, and he's going to be looking around going, man, this is the exact same team I was with before. And now I'm in the best division in the history of the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
I wish they had done more. I feel like they have a lot of players that sound really good in principle. Like Bradley Chubb sounds really good in principle.
Mm-hmm.
He's never really shown that. He's never been that guy.
He had a hell of a rookie year, if I remember back. And then end
of message.
Jumped off the page. Yeah, absolutely.
Just for posterity's sake, he's been. How many years he been in the league?
4.
This will be his 5th.
Yeah.
He had 12 sacks in his rookie year.
Mm-hmm.
The 3 years since, how many does he have combined?
11.
8.5.
8.5.
8.5.
It's not good.
He's been hurt a lot.
Right.
When he's on the field, he's fine. But now we're 2 very injury-prone seasons. Now you don't have Von Miller.
No, you
most
have
of what
Gregory
I have.
now.
And see, I'm not sold on that. Randy Gregory had DeMarcus Lawrence on the other side. Now he is the scariest of your 2 pass rushers. And he's learning a new position because he's going to have to stand up. I'm just not wild about any of these things. I'm not saying it's not going to be good.
Right.
I'm just saying, all right, you're putting Randy Gregory and Bradley Chubb into the same vein as Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack.
No,
you're not even in the ballpark.
No, you misunderstand. It's going to be good. It ain't going to be that good.
It's going to be good.
It ain't going to be Chandler Jones, Max Crosby. It's not going to be the Bosa, no.
And I would say I feel like Denver and Miami both. I feel like they belong in that same conversation with the Jets and the Lions.
Mm-hmm.
I understand the 2 different teams. The AFC is going to sort itself out. This will be a crazy competitive year for the AFC. These things are all cyclical. A year from now, you'll be looking at a few of these teams going, whoa, hey, you aged like milk.
Mm-hmm.
New England. And then the separation will take hold. And then Denver can build more of a team around Russell Wilson. Because he's still long for this league. Russell's taking very good care of himself. This is not like a 2-year window.
Despite the fact he's one of the most hit quarterbacks in the league.
But he's still taking very good care of himself. He's still in very good shape, not had a lot of injury issues. And so I think a year from now, you'll be looking at the fruits of the labor a year from now.
Mm-hmm.
And people grossly undervalue first-year head coach. Now, Miami, I still come back to Tua. I get that you added Tyreek Hill and just a slew of running backs, which that and $1 will get you a Coke. You know how I feel about running backs. So
right. But you also improved.
There are 200 of them in this league.
They also improved the offensive line with Teron Armstead and Connor Williams.
Injury issues with Teron Armstead, Connor Williams learning a new position because he's playing center, not guard.
Mm-hmm. You added a pass rusher in Melvin Ingram. I mean, I know it's not. It's
Yeah,
not.
Melvin Ingram worked phenomenally with the Kansas City Chiefs. Other than that, it's not been all that impressive. Look, they have things that are good.
Right.
But you got to remember, this is a young team that tried to take 4 steps up the ladder by trading for Tyreek Hill. The problem is that if you look around the AFC, half of the conference did the same thing.
You got nowhere to go.
And you have a big but to me in Tua Tagovailoa, which is what scares me there.
Absolutely. Your Jets, I feel like we've undersold them. They are one of the most improved teams in the NFL this
and that's
year
why
as well.
that's why we don't call them my Jets.
Right.
They're not my Jets. You're saying that wrong.
Oh, excuse me.
They're my 2027 Super Bowl champion. Jets.
I do love the additions that you made, and you had probably one of the greatest drafts in the history of the NFL.
Ever, of all time, in the world.
Just wait for it. Just wait for it. A few years, we're going to be looking back, and we'll say that Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, Jermaine Johnson, Breece Hall, that could be one of the greatest combinations of first 4 picks in a draft ever.
The New York Jets and the Detroit Lions could look back at this offseason and go, this is where we broke the stigma of the same old Jets and the Lions being the Lions.